everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the Linglobe channel. This time, we'll be bringing you content about preserving the world's languages for the future. Please enjoy it to the end.
Linglobe Voice. Imagine, if you will, standing on a shoreline, just looking out at the vast, totally unpredictable expanse of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, quite the view.
Right. And you don't have a modern compass, you don't have GPS, you certainly don't have a steel-hulled ship.
No, definitely not.
What you have is, a woven sail outrigger canoe, an intimate understanding of the stars, and the absolute audacity to sail into the unknown. And picture doing that in the year 1500 BCE.
Which is just a staggering image to start with.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, Linglobe Voice, we are exploring a culture that didn't just survive immense external forces, but actively absorb them.
Yeah, it's a masterclass in strategic resilience.
It really is.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in. I want to introduce the very first slide title, which is The CHamoru People, a cinematic journey through language and culture.
And cinematic is basically the perfect word for it. Our core mission today is to rapidly explore the origins, the language, and the really vibrant living culture of the Mariana Islands.
Right. And to understand all of that, we first have to understand where they are and who they are, which leads us to our next slide title, Taotao Tåno, People of the Land.
So geographically, we're talking about the Mariana Islands archipelago.
Okay.
It's this crescent-shaped string of islands in the Western Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Guam in the south, and then just to the north, you have Saipan, Tinian, and Rota.
But the phrase Taotao Tåno means something much deeper than just a spot on a map, doesn't it?
No, absolutely. It literally translates to people of the land. It signifies these incredibly deep genealogical roots.
Which is fascinating when you think about the modern political reality for you listening right now. I mean, it's like a single family divided by two different area codes.
That is a really great analogy.
Because, the political borders actually split Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands, or NMI.
Right. And yet, despite that invisible line drawn by external powers, they completely thrive as one connected diaspora today.
So how did this family actually reach these islands in the first place? That brings us to our next slide title, Ancestral Voyages, Genesis of Chamorro Society.
Well, we have to dial the clock way, way back to around 1500 BCE.
Which is, it's millennia before European exploration.
Exactly. This is the pre-Latte era. Achieving open ocean seafaring during that time period is just an absolute feat of human engineering.
It really blows my mind. But, when you throw out a date like 1500 BCE, what is the actual hard evidence for that?
Oh, the evidence is robust. Archaeologists have found this very specific red-slipped pottery along with certain shell tools.
Oh, wow. And what does that tell us?
Well, culturally and genetically, it directly links the earliest populations of the Marianas to the Philippines and island Southeast Asia.
That is incredible. So the ocean routes they took actually mirror the roots of their spoken language today.
Yeah, they do.
Which perfectly transitions to the next slide title, Linguistic Roots, the Austronesian heritage. And I feel like there's a big geographic myth we need to debunk here.
Definitely. There's this default assumption that because the Marianas are in Micronesia, Chamorro must be a Micronesian language.
Which makes sense on paper, right?
It does, but it's completely false. Linguistically, Chamorro is entirely distinct from its Micronesian neighbors.
Really? So where does it fit in?
It actually belongs to the Malayo-Polynesian branch of the vast Austronesian language family.
Okay, so what is the implication of that for the listener? Centuries of robust oral tradition had to preserve those ancient Asian connections, right?
Exactly. Long before anything was ever written down, the community actively kept that complex linguistic architecture intact.
But, a language that survives for thousands of years is bound to pick up a few things along the way.
Oh, without a doubt.
Which brings us to this great visual analogy on the next slide title, A Tapestry of Tongues. The Anatomy of Chamorro. The materials compare the language to a tightly woven rope.
Yeah, it's a brilliant way to look at it. You have the core, which is that intact, fundamental Austronesian grammar we just talked about.
Okay, so that's the center of the rope.
Right. And then you have the layers wrapped around it.
The loan words, right.
Exactly. Centuries of borrowed vocabulary from Spain, the Philippines, Japan, and eventually English.
But wait, if they're using so many Spanish words, isn't it just a Spanish Creole at this point?
That is a very common misconception.
Yeah.
But no, this is what we call the synthesis insight.
Oh, okay. Explain that.
Chamorro is not a Creole. It's an indigenous language that strategically absorbed outside words, but it forced those new words to obey its own ancient grammatical rules.
Ah, so it never lost its structural integrity.
Exactly.
That is so cool. But all that colonial history didn't just affect how the language sounds. It deeply affected how it's spelled today.
It really did.
Which takes us to the next slide title, The Orthographic Divide. Chamorro versus Chamorro.
Right, so to understand this, you had to look at the partition driver of 1898.
When the U.S. took Guam.
Great. Yes. The U.S. took Guam, while the rest of the NMI fell under German and later Japanese administration.
So they were completely split up administratively.
Completely.
Yeah.
And the modern result is a literal spelling divide. Today, Guam uses Chamorro, spelled with a capital C and H as one phonetic unit.
And they use specific diacritics too, right?
Yeah, driven by language revitalization legislation in 2017.
But the NMI does it differently.
Right. The NMI retains the historical Spanish-derived spelling Chamorro ending with an O.
It's amazing how much history is packed into just a spelling choice.
It really is.
But, before any of these spelling debates, the language was kept alive through pure, spontaneous art.
Oh, yes. This is my favorite part.
Me too. Let's hit the next slide title. Kantan Chamorita. The poetry of competition. I mean, it's basically a high-speed ancient rap battle.
That is the perfect way to describe the energy of it. It's this incredibly dynamic call-and-response singing.
But they make it up on the spot, right?
That's the real challenge. The performers rapidly improvise lyrics in real time to respond to a tease from another singer.
So you have to match the rhythm, find a rhyme, and be funny, all at the same time.
Exactly. It was a massive test of wit and humor.
And it wasn't just for fun, was it?
No, it played a crucial role. It was the linguistic vessel for transmitting cultural memory and complex vocabulary through generations.
Just brilliant. So as their oral traditions grew richer, their physical societies were also leveling up.
They were, very significantly.
Which brings us to the next slide title, Foundations of a Golden Age, the Latte Era.
Yeah, so we're looking at a timeline shift here. This era starts roughly around 900 to 1000 CE.
And goes until when?
Right up until the 17th century Spanish colonization.
Wow, okay. So a long time. What changed during this era?
Well, this shift marked the rise of truly permanent communities. We see complex social hierarchies forming, clan-based land relationships, and really expansive agriculture.
And the visual proof of that golden age still stands today, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Let's get into the engineering on the next slide title, Architectural Legacy, Anatomy of a Latte Stone.
So when you look at a latte stone, it's actually two massive pieces.
Right.
Okay, you have the Haligi, which is the sturdy, upright pillar planted in the ground.
And the top part.
That's the Tåsa, this huge bowl-shaped capital resting right on top of the pillar.
Now, let's clarify a common misconception for you listening. A lot of people think these are statues or grave markers, right?
Yeah, early explorers assumed that. But they were actually highly engineered foundation supports for grand wooden houses.
Oh, wow. So they elevated the houses.
Exactly. And today, those stone pillars are basically the ultimate symbol of Chamorro survival.
I love that. But if latte stones were the physical foundation of the society, what was the philosophical foundation?
That is the big question.
Let's answer it with the next slide title, Inafa'maolek, the heartbeat of society.
So, Inafa'maolek is the absolute core philosophy of the Chamorro worldview.
What does it actually mean in practice?
It's all about maintaining harmony. You constantly have to weigh the community impact of your individual actions.
It was deeply collective.
Very much so. And historically, the culture has deep matrilineal roots where women held immense authority.
And there's a huge respect for elders too, right?
Oh, absolutely. The Manomko, the elders, are revered as the arbiters of that harmony.
But harmony isn't just a nice idea. It requires a system to actually keep it running.
It takes real work.
Right. So the next slide title is Chenchule, the system of mutual support. When I read this, it just felt like an ingenious, community-wide insurance policy.
That's a great way to put it. In practice, Chenchules is this continuous exchange of money, food, or labor.
When did he do this?
Usually during major life events like weddings or funerals.
Got it. So what's the ultimate goal of the system?
The purpose is to ensure that no single family ever bears a heavy burden alone. It literally weaves the community together through gratitude.
That is so powerful. But the most immediate physical way this mutual support is shared is usually on a plate, isn't it?
Oh yeah, food is everything.
Let's talk about that. The next slide title is A Culinary Convergence, Evolution of Chamorro Food.
You can really taste the history here. You start with the ancient staples, things like taro, breadfruit, and coconut.
Okay, the indigenous base.
Right. And then you add the colonial infusions like achiat and soy sauce.
Which brings us to the ultimate signature synthesis dish. We have to spotlight Keligwin.
Yes, Keligwin is amazing. It's meat or seafood that's heavily cured with citrus juice, much like ceviche.
But they add local ingredients to it, right?
Yeah, they mix it with fresh coconut and spicy heat to make it entirely their own.
And the deep insight here is that fiestas and shared meals aren't just parties.
No, not at all. They are the physical, literal engine of Chenchule.
You literally eat the harmony. I love it. But to harvest those ancient staples from the sea, you need serious vessels.
You really do.
Which leads to our next slide title, Masters of the Ocean, the Flying Proa.
The proa and the larger sacman are just engineering marvels. They feature a completely asymmetrical hull design and these massive triangular sails.
And the way they change direction is wild, right? They don't turn the boat around.
No, turning would capsize it.
Yeah.
Instead, they just reverse the bow and stern to change direction instantly.
That is so smart.
It's called shunting. They were so fast that early Europeans thought they were literally flying over the water.
Hence the name. And today, these canoes serve as a cultural classroom for cooperative labor.
Exactly. They're reviving that communal muscle memory.
And just like canoe building has been revived, ancient survival tools have found a new life today, too.
They really have.
Let's look at the next slide title, From Survival to Sport, Traditional Skills Revived. Can you quickly run through the 3 examples we have?
Sure. First is the acho atapat, the sling stone. It was a weapon, but now it's a sport of distance and precision throwing.
Nice. What's the second one?
The toloya, the cast net. Throwing it today is a massive test of posture and getting the perfect circular spread.
And the third?
Chanka. It's a highly strategic Mancala-style board game played with shells.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it really tests your mental agility and planning.
So all of these elements, the ocean, the engineering, the resilience, they all converge in the modern visual identity of the islands.
They do, perfectly.
Which brings us to our final slide title, Symbols of Identity, Decoding the Emblem of Guam.
The emblem has 3 distinct parts. First, the shape itself is a pointed oval, which mimics the ancient sling stone.
Okay, grounding it in strength.
Right. Inside, you have the proa, representing that seafaring genius. And finally, a coconut tree, symbolizing deep-rooted resilience.
But we have to add a crucial context note here for you listening. This is the political flag of Guam specifically, right?
Yes, exactly. It is not a universal flag for all Chamorro people.
Because of the area code split we talked about earlier.
Right. The NMI has its own completely distinct flag and seal.
So as we wrap up this incredible journey, how do you synthesize all of this?
Well, when you look at it from the Austronesian grammar, deeply embedded in the language, to the physical stance of throwing a cast net, to the enduring presence of the latte stone, you're looking at a culture defined by a remarkable ability to adapt to immense outside pressures, while fiercely protecting its core identity.
It really is inspiring, and I think it leaves you with this provocative thought. True resilience isn't about resisting all change. It's actually about selectively, brilliantly weaving the new into your own ancient tapestry.
Thank you for watching until the end. We will continue to bring you many more languages from around the world. Please subscribe to our channel. See you next time on the Linglobe channel.